So we are going to start this Q&A here. Keith, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, so we've got a ton of questions, which is really encouraging. It knows that you're moving forward, and you get a lot of people asking questions.
Our school district/middle school has a board in the main hallway for LGBTQ Pride Month. So kids opted out of sex ed are still exposed to undesired content. How can parents, school board members push back? Kids opted out are not truly opted out because their classmates receive the indoctrination and these boards.
Comprehensive sex ed is pervasive through all subjects, so it's not, to opt your kid out of one class may avoid part of it, but most of the curriculum for comp sex ed encourage teachers to reference comp sex ed concepts in every class. So you'll get it in math, you'll get it in biology, you'll get it everywhere. The LGBTQ phenomenon is about more than just human sexuality. It is a politicized front for destabilizing people's notion of objective reality and the nuclear family. While we certainly want to protect every individual's right, adult individual, to live the life they want to live and be free of harassment or abuse, there are elements of this approach that are beyond matters of human sexuality and individual dignity and are pushing a political agenda that is not primarily one of sex. That's going to require, to fight back effectively against that, you have to understand it isn't gay and lesbian people you're opposing. It's a postmodern philosophy that doesn't recognize objective truth. And there are groups. There's an interesting group on social media called Gays Against Groomers that are gay people who see that a lot of the politicization of this issue has nothing to do with their lives as gay people. It's pushing a political agenda. And so we need more of that. That will help us push back against the politicized parts of that movement.
Even if we, this is good, even if we flip the legislature, what is the likelihood of finding something similar to what Arizona is doing? What barriers exist? OSPI, unions, everything.
The barriers are political, they're not legal or constitutional. So we would need a strong majority in the legislature to get a comprehensive choice plan in place like Arizona. I mean, they're all in. It's a full choice program down there. What I envision happening is we would ease into a choice program here. We would probably make the scholarships, we don't call them vouchers, available on a limited basis first, and then gradually expand the number of scholarships available over the course of maybe 5 or even 10 years to where they were available to every student. So I think it would need to take a phased-in approach like that for political reasons. I mean, there's no legal or constitutional reason why we couldn't follow Arizona tomorrow, except we don't have the legislature or the governor that would support such a dramatic move. So one of the things that I think it's important for us to learn from the other side of the political spectrum is they're very good at incrementally putting into place the policies they want, not trying to eat the whole cake in one bite, but gradually move toward the policies they want in law. I think we should do the same thing with school reform, gradually move to a place like Arizona.
Sharon, if the initiatives for school transparencies pass and schools must make their curriculum transparent, how do we know they'll be really honest with the information?
I mean, you don't trust the school system? I think what we have to do is talk to our children and find out. But it's not so much that they're going to tell you, it's that you have more rights to go to the school, and if they try to block you, you can say, the law says you're supposed to put on the website, I want to know what it is. And so it gives you the right to go, and we have to then train parents on how to be noisy. The squeaky wheel can get information. We have to train parents how to be the squeaky wheel, as well as how to understand what they're seeing on the website. You may be looking at a curriculum and you don't know or realize how bad it can be. Fuzzy math, especially in those areas, math, literature. There's some bad things in there, but you may not quite understand what you're seeing. So that's where groups like Jennefir, Southwest Washington Free, myself, we will probably be out there ready to help give tools to the parents. And so, no, we don't assume they're going to be honest, but we have more rights to demand and get answers.
Are any public schools considered public classical schools as opposed to progressive public schools?
We have a group here called Classical Education, a table here. So I guess the definition, when you say classical, is, I'm not sure if the person writing the question is kind of leaning towards that, but in general, I would say that every school in Washington State that has taken the WASO, that has taken the high school proficiency exam, or the Common Core exam, has leaned to a system that's gone away from teaching of knowledge to an outcome-based system, that they're checking to see if you have the right thoughts or not. It's more leaning that way. There is little testing done to see if there is an information or not. The word test means that you take a test when you have checked to see if you absorb the knowledge. You take a driver's license test. You take a food handler's permit test. You read the little booklet and you check to see if the person has absorbed the knowledge in that booklet. Just make note of the word assessment. You will never hear the word testing on children in the major test. It's Common Core assessment, the Washington assessment, high school proficiency assessment, because they are not testing. They're not checking to see if you have knowledge and absorbed information. They're looking for something else. So in answer to classical progressive, I don't know if that's the right categories, and I'm not sure which definitions you're looking for, but I can tell you that it's not information-based, and it's something else.
Do you think most people in our communities oppose CSE, CRT, SEL, etc.?
It depends where you live. It does. And so when we were looking at the Ref 90 situation, and you could see a vote taking place. So I use that as statistics. I would say most of Washington State would oppose it, although not, they all didn't vote. And that there are pockets of places where they actually wanted it, they voted for it. I know I looked at University Place. There were more votes for sex ed that wanted sex ed than not. I think Anacortes was another one. I didn't really get to look at the Bellinghams, this area. But there is data out there. So I don't know the answer. I think the King County, those votes outweigh the rest of the state, and they also came out and voted.
So I have some numbers for that. The phone calls into Olympia about a bill, they keep track of those numbers. Yes, I like that. No, I don't. When it came to the sex ed mandate, the calls, these are just phone calls, not emails. The phone calls into Olympia, 21,668 were against mandated CSE, opposed to 191 for.
What was that website that ranked school boards that you had?
The one I used was schooldigger.com. There's multiple ones, including OSPIs, but schooldigger.com. Yeah, there's multiples out there, but Schooldigger is SCHOOLDIGGER.com.
What are costs involved? What are the costs involved in running for school board? And have you seen your family's safety being risked or threatened as a Christian school board leader?
First part, my campaign, I funded probably close to $2,000, and donations just shy of $5,000. I tried to keep my donations at or below $5,000 so I didn't get into a reporting situation. PDC requires anything over $5,000 has to be reported with name, address, employer phone number for everybody that contributes. So if you're going to run, keep in mind when you first get your PDC account, you've got to decide which way you're going to do. If you think there's a possibility that you'll raise more than $5,000, you can either start out reporting or make sure you keep all of the information. I kept a ledger with every donation with all the information I needed. So just in case I went over the $5,000, I could go back and fill it all in. And second, as far as being threatened, the period when I was running for school board was a pretty contentious time in our school district because of issues with the superintendent, the theft of funds, the seated board president rewarding him with a $200,000 severance package and a $25,000 bonus. And of course, the CRT issue. Our superintendent denied any involvement in CRT, and yet public records indicated that over half of the staff and board members had already been through CRT training. It came to a point where we had 2 armed police officers at every school board meeting, just because the public was that upset with what was going on in the school district.
So I want to point out too that while the financial problems in Paul's district are some of the worst there have been, that's not a unique situation at all. There are financial mismanagement and embezzlement issues are more common in school districts in this state than most people realize. Now, Moses Lake was worse than most, but it's not unique. That's happening all over the place because our controls, our financial controls, are not as strong as they should be.
In 2021, and maybe Paul could answer this too. In 2021, before the school year began, I contacted a local school board member about masking rules for school children. He would not answer my several emails. How do I deal with this? What is the best way to go forward? What do you do when you've got board members who won't respond?
You run against them.
Not for Emperor Inslee. We work for the citizens.
And if you go onto your district website and look up your school board directors, right next to their name, it has the date when their term ends. If you have questions of, do I live in their district, who is my representative on the board, you can call up your county elections office and they can help you with that.
How in God's name do we get the churches and pastors to stand up in their pulpits and say, enough is enough, we are going to, I won't say we are going to start to speak out, and we are going to be Dietrich Bonhoeffer's of 2022. How do we do that?
No, I think I personally invited somewhere in the region of 120 pastors to this event. And Keith and I were praying about that this week. And I said, you know, Saturday is a difficult day for a lot of pastors. It's a Sabbath day. I'm not going to hammer on my brothers and fellow ministry leaders. And when you have I could speak to that from the role of senior pastor. And let me just say this, you know, it's a hugely busy role. Especially, you know, if I was in a church, it was roughly about 300. If somebody came to me and asked me to give up 1 hour during that week, and especially on a weekend when I'm preparing the Word of God and getting ready to deliver a sermon, that would be a huge ask. Huge ask. Right now, you know, as we're on the, probably easier just to paint, I guess, a picture of where the church is at. COVID was hugely difficult for church leadership. Mask, no mask. Mandate, no mandate. vaccine, no vaccine. You couldn't win. You literally couldn't win. It didn't matter what you said or what you said from the pulpit, you're going to offend somebody in your congregation. And there was a sense of, during COVID, is what happened was, it was almost like, okay, the walls go up and we're going to hunker down, we're going to look after our own ministry. Now we're just coming out the back of that, literally. Things are opening up again. And so really, during that time, it was more focus of trying to keep the church together. I know a lot of churches that didn't make it through. I know a lot of ministry organizations, funding is down. The church is still suffering on the back of that. So I think timing-wise, right now, although it's crucial, you know, what I would say is keep it in front of your pastor. Pray for your pastor. Go and meet with them. Bring it up. The only way that you're going to get the pastors to notice that is if it keeps coming up from members in the congregation. The pastors care about their flock deeply. They care about their youth especially. They have and I would say this, that generally there's a lot of ignorance there as to what is going on and what has been spoken about today. And so you're speaking with people who are exceptionally busy. Stress rate is very high. COVID, a lot of people actually left the ministry, left the pulpit. I know of several churches just now that they're trying to get a new pastor in, and it's really not easy. In fact, my own position has been empty, if anybody fancies it, for a year and a half, right? And so you've also got, you've got that busyness, and then you've also got the way a church works is that you have elders, deacons, or committees or whatever, and they are notorious. They take notorious long time to get things done there. And so, you know, pray, keep bringing it up, keep bringing his attention to it, and do you know what? God can answer that. God can speak into that. And so,
Why is the church slow to the pornography issue? I'm a solid churchgoer. It's never addressed.
I don't know if I can answer it. Honestly, I don't know. It's such a big problem in the church. And, you know, everybody knows it's happening, but nobody seems to be speaking about it. And so one thing I would say on that is, if your pastor or whatever isn't speaking about it, the responsibility is going to come to you. Because either way, you know, they're going to find out about it. And so what I would say is, I can't speak for all the churches. Certainly in our church we did, and it was addressed in various sections, whether it was youth, college, adult, men's, and women's as well. It was addressed there. But I think the main answer to that is probably availability. Because if you don't talk about it with your kids, grandkids, whatever, their friends will. It's not like they're not going to get the information. They're going to get it. It's where they get the source from. That's the most important point.
What could we do to destroy the philosophy of the 1619 Project and infuse the 1776 Project's point of view?
So, 1619 Project, I'm not quite sure what that is.
1619 Project is a philosophy that the founding of America was when the first slaves were brought over here from Africa. And because America was built on that slave trade, systemic racism is built into every aspect of our government, of our schools, of our society.
And it's a curriculum. The 1619 program is it's a K-12 curriculum, so that it's a structured measure of study that says what you said.
It's also a philosophy that has been debunked many times. It was an article, and I cannot remember who wrote it, but it originally appeared in the New York Times, and since then historians have debunked it as false.
The 1776 curriculum, on the other hand, is also a curriculum for K-12 education that relies more on traditional founding documents and constitutional perspective.
Does that answer your question?
I think that's good, yeah.
So that was great.
Good answer.
Yeah. Great, Jeff. Can I apply Dr. Christian Overman's worldview questions to creating let's see, a group, maybe a small group or a large group or whatever, in home to talk about his worldview? Is there a way to do that?
I'm glad you asked because I forgot to mention it. Last June, at my wife's urging, I put on the internet collective, basically 40 years of work online for free. It's full of video clips, and it is posted at the following address. It's www.issuu.com/Christian Overman, all one word. And the name of the curriculum is called Eliminating the Sacred Secular Divide. And you can take it at your own pace. You can do the course independently. You can do it in a church small group. You can do it as a Christian school staff, any way you want. There's suggestions in the back as to how to format it, how many weeks you can take. But it's there for you, for anyone in the world, actually.
Why are Christians that are 63% of the U.S. allowing LGBTQ+, which are 7.1%, bully them?
Why are they bullying all the other Christians?
Bullying. Who's bullying? Why are they bullying? Well, I think behind it all there is a director. His name starts with an L. Lucifer. This is a spiritual war, and Lucifer is angry. He knows his time is short, and he loves to bully.
Public school teachers have to teach CSE, CRT. CRT, no, it's not in the law. CSE, schools must offer CSE. Parents can opt out. Teachers, I have heard of some schools being understanding to a teacher's morals and values and finding somebody else to teach the class. I think there are some districts that are stubborn about it. But as far as CRT, no, they don't have to teach it. Is there state policy giving parents a right and a vote in curriculum development committee, library committee? In the Riverview School District, where my first and third grader are told, they told me parents are not allowed on it. That's not true. Policy 2020 and 2025 define how curriculum adoption is done. And part of that is a committee that is made up of educators, committee members, and a member of the school board. So look at policy 2020 and 2025 in your school district. I'm not a parent of kids in our schools. Am I allowed to view curriculum? Yes, you are. If there's any curriculum that you wish to see, you call up your school district office and say, I'd like to make an appointment to come in and look at the middle school sex ed curriculum or the high school sex ed curriculum. Yes, you are. If they are looking to adopt a new sex ed curriculum by law, and this is key, they must put it in electronic form. That's in the new sex ed mandate 5395 in that law. It must be in electronic form. A lot of districts try to get out of that, but it is in the law, and yes, everybody has a right to view that curriculum. You're part of the community, your tax dollars go to the schools, and those kids that are in the schools right now are going to be adults one day when we're all in old folks' homes. So yes, you do.